Hello, this is Steve from Beato's Leatherworks. Today's project is this very cool doctor's bag. Now, I did a little bit of research on what this was. The only marking on here is a small little name tag, likely. So it turns out that this was built in Rochester, New York. The company began in 1847 to 1925. So you can bet that it's well over 100 years old. Henry Likely, it's a very cool story. I just did a little research on him, and I'll share with you guys as I'm working on this. Now, this belonged to the customer's grandfather. Customer's is probably in his maybe 70s, I'm gonna guess. So as you can kind of date how old this is, so it's got to be over 100 years old. It's seen its better days, unfortunately. Now, about a year or so ago, I did another one very similar to this, where we literally cut this top portion, removed it, reused the frame, and then put all new leather on there. I'll see if I can find some pictures to show you guys. We're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to come across here, cut this, disassemble everything. I'm going to try to use this buffalo leather right here. I'll see if I can tone that down, color a little bit to match it, but the texture is perfect for it. It's a little bit thicker than I wanted, but we can thin it down. And the interior is in pretty good shape, actually. It's not bad at all. We're just gonna have to rework a little bit. We're gonna remove some of these small pockets at the customer's request and reassemble it, put everything back together, condition it, make a new handle for it. And I think once it gets done, hopefully it'll last another 100 years. All right, let's get started. All right, so these are the numbers on the bottom here. 18242. I have to do some more digging, see what that is. Maybe a production number, I'm not sure. 1 foot is missing from the bottom, we'll replace that. It's a solid bag. Considering the age of it, this canvas is not in bad shape. No, this is not leather. This is basically a canvas that's coated with dyes. Otherwise, it's in very good shape. Structurally, it's not bad. All the hinges mechanically. We'll clean that up a little bit. The lock is in working shape. Let's continue. Here's a little backstory on the luggage maker. All right. Henry Likely was born on January 18th, 1836 in Perth, Canada. In the spring of 1848, after his father died, he and his mother moved to Rochester, New York. He continued his education in a Rochester, New York public school system, and upon graduation took an apprenticeship with the A.R. and T. Well, let's say A.R. and T.H. Pritchard Company, where he learned the trade of manufacturing trunks and travel bags. Henry Likely was married in 1861 to Miss Helen E. Callister. They had 2 children, William C. Likely, born March 31, 1867, and Henry Likely, born March 12, 1870. Henry Likely Sr. was a registered Republican, Freemason, and a member of the Oddfellow fraternity. Mr. Likely died on December 17, 1897. So the Henry Likely Trunk Company was established in 1844 as A.R. and T.H. Pritchard. Upon graduating from school, Henry Likely took an apprenticeship. We went through that, master's trade, okay. And in January 1868, Mr. Likely was given a partnership in the company. The company then became A.R. and T.H. Pritchard and Company. 3 years later, it became A.R. Pritchard and Likely. When Henry Likely and his brother-in-law became sole let's try that again. Proprietors of the business, the name was changed to Henry Likely and Company. This was the name from 1870, when A.R. Pritchard retired, until 1925, when it simply became Likely. All right. In New York, the Henry Likely Trunk Company was the largest factory of its time, located at 340 Lyell Avenue in Rochester, New York. The factory covered 2 acres of land. The building was 4 stories tall and utilized 60,000 square feet of space. During this period, it was one of the best equipped manufacturing plants in the United States. Man, that's a big company, huh? I wonder how many employees they had. The first floor was where the lumber was sawed and prepared. The second floor was the woodworking and box shop where the frames were made. The third floor was designed for trimming and finishing. At the top floor was probably served for the executive, sales, and accounting. Their products were shipped all over U.S. and over 2 parts of Europe, or even to parts of Europe. For the local residents, the Likely Company also maintained a retail outlet at 96 State Street in Rochester, New York. Man, I'd like to see what's there now. At the peak of the company, at its peak, the company used over 1 million feet of lumber annually and turned out over 30,000 trunks yearly. Wow. The company produced all kinds of trunks, mostly for travel and packing, but they also specialized in theatrical, jeez, you know what I mean, theater trunks, and really fine high-end trunks. It says the guy was the Louis Vuitton of Rochester, New York. All right, that's a little backstory on the bag. That's kind of cool. I mean, imagine coming from wherever you came from, and then you worked at a company, and you started taking over, and it became your company. You know, that's pretty cool. So, a little background on that bag. All right, let's continue. Coffee time. All right, so we're going to take lots of measurements before we even take this thing apart, because what's going to happen is that the top part and the bottom part have got to sit properly. If it's not, then it's going to twist, and it's just not going to look right. So whatever we're taking apart, we need to measure, mark it, just so we know where the center lines are. And after attaching everything back together, I have to make sure that everything lines up. I don't think this leather pen is going to work on here. Well, I think it's dead. All right, let's continue. That is so weak that you can just pull that apart and These look like they're pins. That was in the lining here. These have got to be over 100 years old, man. Wow, look at this. We're going to save these. Maybe clean them up a little bit. And give it back to the customer. Oh, look, one of them broke. Wow, it's so fragile. Guess I should be more careful. Very cool. Stop looking at my fingers. I know they're dry. I heard somebody comment, "Oh my God, look at oh my God, look at those dirty hands." Get a life. Let's take a look at the inside. They reinforce the sides right there with some fabric. Somebody wrote 32 on there. I think that is so cool, you know. How many hands that went through repairing this or making this. No surprise on the inside. Sometimes they'll line it up with like old newspapers and stuff. There's nothing here. No treasure. All right, let's continue. All right, so we have to get past this fold line here when we're replacing the leather, because obviously that's the damaged areas. Simply made a small little template, okay? We've got the center of the bag on both sides, okay? This template, just like that. If I can see things upside down. And we mark that area. And we flip this, bring that back to the center line, and do the same thing on this side, and then do the same thing on the back side. And once all four panels are marked, you can cut it off. All right, see this design right here? This is called piping. The bag was turned inside out to stitch that center stitch right here on the side center. Now, it's going to be impossible for me to turn this bag inside out again to duplicate that pattern. So we're going to have to improvise. We're going to, once the new piece is together, these two right here will basically overlap each other, and we're going to put a single stitch going all the way up. That's the only way I can do that, because there's no way that I'm going to be able to turn this bag, as old as it is, inside out to mimic that exact pattern. But I think it'll look okay once it gets done. Now this was lined with canvas, as you guys can see. This canvas still is in very decent shape. So I'm gonna keep this canvas and we're just gonna bring the new leather and glue it back to what it was. Now I gotta make some decisions here because after I remove the canvas, which was reinforcing that leather, I don't think that I can salvage this area here because this is pretty dry. I gotta figure something out. Now that I'm looking at it, do we just replace from this stitch line right here all the way around? But then what do we salvage of the original brief or original bag? Just the bottom portion. Really, that's about it. It's the only thing that we're going to salvage, and the initials on the tab, which was important to the customer that we keep that. This is grandfather's initials. I'm so happy that there was a marking on that tab so I know where the bag came from. It's very cool. All right, I'm gonna have to figure something out. Let's continue. All right, so I'm not gonna go down to the stitch line here. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna lower that about 1.5 inches. We're gonna adjust our original pattern 1.5 inches lower than what I had originally done, and that'll protect that area. Now, with the canvas backing it, it seems to be pretty good. The surface cracks, it wasn't too deep for me to be concerned to replace it all the way to here. I think it'll give a better visual too, having that curved pattern instead of a straight line. All right, let's continue. I found a leather that's going to match that pretty much dead on. Isn't that cool? 100 years plus later, we still have the same pebble grain leather. And the color is pretty close to the other one. The grain was just way too heavy on this one. It just kind of, it's going to stand out too much. This one is going to be much, much better than the other one. Cool, I'm very happy. Let's continue. So this is my brother's machine. We're in my basement right now. There's a lot of stuff here. So this machine hasn't been turned on in a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and put the brown thread on here. And we're going to go ahead and stitch the center of the panel that we did. Okay? All right, let's continue. All right, here goes nothing. Now with some minor adjustments I had to make because this machine hasn't run in a couple of years. So there's a light on the machine, but I don't have a plug that's going to reach that light switch. And improvise. This is a cylinder arm machine, Adler. It's old, probably 30 years old, maybe more than that. What am I talking about? 30 years old, a lot more than that. See right there, I jumped off the edge. Damn it. We're gonna have to fix that. It's a little dark to be stitching down here. All right, let's continue. All right, so I cleaned that up a little bit. We're going to try to see if we can restitch that a little bit better than what it was. Yep. All right. It's a little better that the light is on this side. Just got to get that thread. Yeah, it's much better. That's much better. I can see what the hell I'm doing. Just going to go right to the left of those stitches there. There we go. All right, beautiful. Now it's not falling off the edge. We'll clean that up a little bit. You'll hardly notice it once it's finished. All right, let's continue. Considering the age of these things, these are in great shape. Just need to be cleaned up a little bit. Now I've got to disassemble the leather cover on the frame. This is very brittle. So these have little prongs right here that hold the lock and the handle bases in. We're going to remove those so we can clear the leather off the top part area there. All right, let's continue. All right, so we've got our frame apart. It's pretty cool, actually. All the hardware's off of it. I'm going to clean that up just a little bit with some sandpaper, and we're going to go ahead and cut new leather and start rewrapping it. And once the frame gets done, it'll be ready to go on the bag. I still have to stitch it though. Stitcher kind of took a crapper. We need some adjustments. I didn't have time to mess with it, so I'm going to use another machine to stitch it on there. All right, let's continue. So this is the leather piece for one side of the frame. So what we're going to do is we're going to thin down the edges because obviously it's too thick. Skiving means basically thinning it down so it'll be easier to fold over. It won't be as thick. This is called a bell skiver because you've got a blade that's shaped like a bell. So basically we adjusted the thickness that we want and we run it through. And there it is. I'm going to do all four sides. Sometimes it catches on the stone, the skived leather here. It catches on that stone right there, so you got to be careful. Make sure you're clear to shoot. All right. And that's the leftover that gets cut off. Okay. Now we can easily wrap it around the frame with the edges nice and thinned out and fold them over. It won't look so chunky. Let's continue. All right, so we have stitched the piece together. I made the lining for it. Okay. I've got the frame ready. I fell down. It's turned out pretty good. Okay. Now we get to glue the lining in, glue the frame together, and where the frame is going to be stitched to the body of the bag, it's got to be hand stitched. You can't machine stitch it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stitch the edges here on the machine without thread. Basically what it's going to do is going to give me some holes. Okay, once I've got those hole pattern, I can put the frame on there and hand stitch it. It'll be a little bit easier than the puncture the leather to stitch the bag. It'll be okay here because you've got a little bit of opening right there in the frame, so the stitch can go through. The leather's pretty thin right here, so it should be able to puncture very, very easily. Now, remember when I told you guys when I opened it up that there was no newspapers or any articles inside? So I got an idea of getting a little note to put inside. I'm not going to show you what it is. Just a little background about me. where we're located, what year it is, you know, what name of the company is and stuff like that. So we're going to put that inside, and I'm going to put a business card in there. Now I'm going to glue these in here so they don't get thrown around. And this is the bottom piece. I'm going to lay that on top of it right there, and we'll go ahead and glue the lining in. Where'd the lining go? So I think it's kind of neat, you know. I don't know who's going to get the bag years down the road. You never know if it falls apart. They might find that inside. Who knows, years down the road. And I think it'll be kind of fun to have that, you know, little note saying that who I am, who did the repair, and, you know, what year it was. So a little, like a little time capsule. So I think it's kind of cool. So we're almost there. All right, let's continue. All right, as you guys can see, we are getting there slowly but surely. This side of the frame is stitched. It's got it all hand stitched on there because you can't really machine stitch that. It was a little bit higher there, but we'll flatten that down and make that a little bit better looking. We salvaged the initials, and I still have the rest of the frame there on the other side, and this side to be stitched. So we're making progress slowly but surely. All right, let's continue. All right, so we're getting there slowly but surely. I still have to put the finishing touches on it. Put the label back on it. Still got to touch up the color a little bit. Hammer some areas down, flatten them down, condition. Clean the hardware again because I got a little bit of overspray on it. Put new feet on the bottom. I'm just going to do one of them, but I'm like, oh, and I just replace all 7 of them, might as well. So we're getting there. Very soon it shall be done. Almost with the project. All right, let's continue. Make it a good day today. Just make it a good day. You can do it. Forget about everything. Just make it a good day. Get a good start. Try to think positively. Give yourself maybe some time in the morning to reflect on what you got to do. But make it a good day. You can do it. All right, welcome back. We are done with another project. Now, this one took a toll on my fingers because all that hand stitching around that frame, it was pretty tough. But you know what? It is what it is. You know, it's part of the job. You got to get used to it. All right, so I just want to let you guys know that I know some of you guys are wondering. Yes, I did get another tattoo. Can't straighten my arm out at all. Now, this is a picture of the company's logo, which is my dad's picture. That's him right there. Basically what I did was I traced the picture Oh, this is not an original picture, by the way. I know some of you guys are going, oh, it's all wrinkled, man. Why are you doing that picture? It's not an original picture. This picture was approximately maybe like 2-3 inches big. I took a photograph of that and I enlarged it, and this is what we have. It's just a regular picture. Now, anyway, I put a tracing film on top of that, and I traced the outline, and I made it into the company's logo. And I just kind of thought that, you know, I always wanted to have his picture, company's logo, something that it kind of, you know, bonds me to his memories. It's kind of cool. So let's see what else. Oh, so if you haven't subscribed, please do so and hit that button. Now, I guess the proper terminology these days is smash that button. You know what? I'd like to do it the old style, which is like a friend of mine in Oscar in Brooklyn. What does he say? Hit that fucking button. We'll see you guys again on the next project. Take care.